Today is May 11th, 2013, and we are interviewing Mr. Lonnie Ray Cooper at C.A. Brehm Public Library in Mount Vernon, Illinois. Mr. Cooper was born on May 18th, 1947. My name is Cheryl Walker, and I am with the Illinois State Library. I'll be the interviewer. Mr. Cooper, could you state for the record what war and branch of service you served in?
I was in the Army in the Vietnam War.
Okay. And what was your highest rank?
E5.
Okay. And where did you take your basic training?
Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
And how long was that basic training?
6 months.
And then where did you go?
Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Okay. And from Fort Polk, that was your AIT. And what did your AIT include?
Mostly radio training and the use of the M16 and a .45 caliber pistol.
What was the weather like during that training? Because you were in there from July 22nd, 1968 is when you enlisted, or you were drafted.
Right.
You were drafted. And do you remember getting your draft notice?
Yes. Yes.
You do. Okay. And what were you doing before you got your draft notice?
I just got out of high school.
Okay. And were a lot of your friends drafted at the same time?
I know there was two. Me and my nephew were drafted at the same time.
At the same time.
Yes.
Okay. And you were discharged July 31st, 1972. When they told you that you were going to Vietnam, did you know how they decided who was going to Vietnam and who wasn't?
No, I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay. From Fort Polk, where did you go to?
I went to California by airplane, and then I went from California to Vietnam.
Okay. What kind of plane did you take to Vietnam?
It was an Army plane.
Was that a long ride?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Was it a comfortable?
Not particularly, no. There were a lot of men on that airplane.
So it wasn't like a commercial flight.
No, it was a huge plane, yes.
Okay. And did you have jump seats that you sat in?
Yes, yes.
And did you have to stay in those seats the whole time?
Yes.
Did you have to, did you land and take off in several different places, or?
No, straight from California to Vietnam.
Okay, so when you got to Vietnam, did you know what unit you were going to be attached to?
No, I did not. I found out that Vietnam, when I landed, of course, they give us all the weapons and everything we needed, and then they told us where we were going, and they sent me to Ba Tri, Vietnam, in a unit for Vietnamese soldiers, and that's where I was stationed.
And what was that unit?
That was the MACB Advisory Team 93 U.S. APAC, which was a Vietnamese Army compound, and they had rooms there for the Vietnamese Army, the company, and then they had a house that the major lived in a house there, and then they had a house there for the 5 Americans that were on that compound, which was me and the sergeant and a captain, a major, and a medic. The 5 of us were military advisors for the Vietnamese Army.
So there was one medic.
Yes.
There was a captain. There was a major.
A sergeant.
A sergeant.
And I was a PFC when I got there.
Were all of you radio men?
No,
You were the only
I was the
radio
only
man.
radio man. Yeah.
And what were your duties?
My duties mainly was keep track of radio conversations. Everything we did on the radio were secret code made by the Army. They sent different codes out to tell you what different letters meant, and that's how you sent coded messages from our base to Saigon.
So when you say secret messages, was it like SOS?
Well, no, not SOS. Mainly it was like when we was going to have operation, when they wanted us to go out, where we was going to go, the time we should leave, and the time we should get back to the compound if we had no contact. And if we did have contact, you use the messages to contact military help that you might need, like helicopters.
How did you have okay, so did special words mean special things?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, not words, mostly letters.
Letters.
Letters, yeah.
Okay. So like a U might have meant something.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of like texting on your cell phone
Right.
today.
Right, like texting, yes, it was.
Got it. And how did you communicate with the Vietnamese?
We used an interpreter. We always had an interpreter that we used. That was always kind of a tricky situation, interpreters, because like you go out on an operation at night and your interpreter would be with you, and the next day you come back in, he might not show up. Because the reason he might not show up was he was actually a Viet Cong. It happened several times. And then you'd have to get another interpreter.
So he would actually know then what your plans were.
Yeah, well, yes, because he could speak English and he could speak Vietnamese. And we had that happen several times, which is understandable. You know, because you don't know who's really the enemy and who's really the Vietnamese and who's the Viet Cong. They all look alike.
Now, did you guys pick the interpreters, or did they?
No, the major of the Vietnamese army picked the interpreter, and he done pretty good. In 18 months, we probably had 3. You know, we had a couple that were the wrong ones.
Now, did they live with you and stay with you? And
the interpreter actually stayed with the Vietnamese army, but when we went out on operations, he stayed with the Americans.
Now, when you went out on operations, did you actually fight?
As far as fighting, the only time the 5 of us actually got into battle was during the Tet battle over there in Vietnam. I'm sure you've heard of that. And we got in some pretty rough stuff there during Tet, yes.
But basically, your mission was to, what? Teach them how to...
Yeah, advise them what to do, how to do it, different military strategies and things like that.
Did they listen to you?
Mostly, they did, yes. They did a lot. Now, sometimes the major of the Vietnamese army would say, no, I don't want to do it. Basically, the interpreters say, no, he don't want to do it our way. He wants to do it his way. Okay. You know.
What, so when you weren't out on a mission, what, were you constantly trying to teach them how to do things? And
basically, we just wanted to make sure that if we did engage in combat, that they would know how to do military things, you know. It's kind of hard to explain, but, you know, try to teach them different military tactics. Like, you know, they had a lot of tunnels and bamboo and stuff like that, and all that kind of thing. And we'd try to teach them how to be aware of where that stuff is. You know, grenades and stuff like that, where they just pull a string across and you trip it with your feet. How to see that before you hit it. You know, different trainings like that.
Do you know how many of your units there were in Vietnam?
There was 100 troops in that compound, Vietnamese troops.
Wow. So it was quite a large compound.
Yes, it was. It was a good sized compound. Yes.
And did you have your own facilities? Did you have? Well, no, you didn't have your own cook, did you?
Actually, yes, we did have our own cook. That was a Vietnamese cook. He not only done the cooking, he done the like empty trash and, you know, and stuff, clean the floors and cook, and he'd done a lot of little basic things. And of course, they weren't real reliable either. Sometimes they were Viet Cong. So they, you know, I don't know. I know one thing that really got me sometimes is when we wanted to get a haircut, we had to go downtown in a little town there that we stayed at. The compound was at, called Batri, B-A-T-R-I. Well, that was all right, but then when they send you down there to get a haircut, and you're sitting there and that guy's cutting your hair, you're all right. And then he gets a razor out, starts shaving down there around your neck and stuff. You think, I wonder if this is really a Vietnamese barber or a Viet Cong barber. You know? Nobody ever got hurt, but boy, it was kind of scary. First time I went, I don't know about this. Yeah, I remember that. That was kind of a scary situation right there.
Yeah, I probably would have said, I don't need a shave today.
Yeah.
Did you ever have entertainment over there?
No, we did not have any entertainment there at the compound. None at all. No. The only time we ever went to enjoy something was, I think we done it twice. They helicoptered all five of us Americans. They helicoptered us out to a ship, a Navy ship, and we went out there and had lunch, you know, with them. That was kind of good because they have very good food out there. Yeah.
That's what I heard.
And then we'd stayed out there, I don't know, maybe a couple hours, talked and stuff like that. Then they helicoptered us back to our unit.
So do you remember what you ate?
Steak. Yeah, but all of Americans ate steak. All five of us. Yeah.
So was it pretty good?
Very good. Very good.
What did you eat when you were on the compound?
On the compound, we ate American food. We would get helicopters would come in with, we'd make up a list of what we needed, and they'd bring it to us, you know, by chopper, helicopter. We'd bring it in.
Did you have to eat like K rations and C rations?
When we were out on a mission, yes, we did. But when we got back to the compound, like I said, we had just normal American food. You know, we didn't do bad. It was pretty good.
Now you mentioned something earlier that you had to take care of the helicopter and
the helicopter pad.
Uh-huh.
If it got hit by by grenades or a rocket, and also the bunker, if it would get hit, I would have to go out and get some dirt and stuff and build it back up where it should be. And or like the compound, even sometimes it would get hit, and we would hire Vietnamese there at that little town. They would send a carpenter over and redo it. And of course, I'd help him do that too, things like that.
So you had to do a lot of things.
Yes, I had to do quite a bit of stuff. Yes, mostly the sergeant and the captain and major. Their biggest, I guess you say, operations was actually the military operating of that of the compound, where we would go, when would we go, and that kind of sort of thing. Basically, they were Army people, and they did what they were supposed to do. Yes, and like I said, I was just a PFC, so you know how that. When you're on the bottom, you do a lot of the stuff that needs to get done. Yes.
So how long were you over there?
18 months. I spent a year. They sent me over for a year, and then they said if I would stay another 6 months, when I got back to the States, I would be out. So I elected to stay another 6 months. Yes. And when I got back to California, I got my discharge papers.
Were you glad that you did that?
After it was all over and I got back on U.S. soil, yes. The 6 months I stayed, there were times I kind of wished I hadn't. Yes. We got into some pretty good battles sometimes. Yes.
How were you able to communicate with home?
Letters. The only way was letters. We'd send a letter about once a week, then once every 2 weeks. When they brought our food in, we'd send letters out, and we'd get letters back.
So, did you enjoy mail call? Was that a special time?
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was. It was really a good time because then you found out what was going on back over here. Yeah.
What about like newspapers? Did you get newspapers from home or magazines?
No,
or
nothing from home.
just letters?
Yeah.
Just letters. Did you get a lot of letters, or did you just get letters from Mom?
Mostly got letters from my sister.
From your sister?
Yes.
Okay. Did you keep those letters?
No, she did not, and I didn't either. I wrote her, and she wrote me. We didn't keep them, but we should have.
It's always better to look hindsight, isn't it? Did you buy anything over there?
No, I never did buy nothing.
Okay. Were you able to go like into Saigon and take a leave?
I was. How many times was I in Saigon? Twice, I think. I took a leave, went to Saigon, and I think that was it. Yeah, didn't do nothing. Ain't nothing to do. It was kind of scary being in Saigon. Too many Vietnamese. You don't know if they really are or if they ain't.
So you didn't really enjoy that?
No, not really. I just soon stayed at the camp. I knew where I was at there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Basically, you get on leave like that, you're just on your own. You go in a bar and how do you know who's who here?
Did you have radio or television to watch over there?
No, we didn't. We had a radio, but it wasn't very good. The reception wasn't good, but we listened to it sometimes.
Did you? What about the weather? What was the weather?
The
like
weather in Vietnam,
where you were stationed?
unlike here where it's hot and cold, Vietnam is wet or dry. And in a year's time, you have wet season, dry season. And when it was a dry season, it's pretty nice over there as far as the weather, But it was wet, it was wet. It just never quit raining, didn't seem like. It'd rain every day.
How did you wash your uniforms? And
Basically, the houseboy would do that for us. We had a houseboy that took care of the laundry and trash, different things like that. mop the floors.
So you were able to keep your uniforms clean
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah, they took it downtown to Botry. They had a laundry unit down there, and he would take care of that.
When you were stationed over there, did you have to spit shine your shoes and have?
Not so much as you probably would in the States. I mean, yeah, they wanted you had a set of dress shoes. They wanted, fairly nice, especially when you had their higher ranking servicemen come to your compound. Well, like when I got the Bronze Star, that was one of the major things that happened there. I got the Bronze Star, and at that time, General Westmoreland, the 4-star general, he flew down there and gave me the Bronze Star. So that was a pretty honorable thing to get that from General Westmoreland. Yeah, and yeah, you had your best suit on right then.
What? How? Okay, General Westmoreland was coming to give you
Yes,
a Bronze Star,
right.
one of the highest medals that you can receive. He flew just in to see you. What were your feelings?
When you're that age, it was just amazing, really, to be honored that way. Yeah, it was.
Did you have pictures taken?
Yes, we had a picture taken. Yes.
And did you get a letter from him?
I think I did. Yes, I did get a letter from him and pictures and of course the plaque, with it was real nice. Yes, all that was real good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was. It's not too often, I don't think, that a 4-star general would fly to one base to give one medal to one man. It was the Bronze Star ain't that easy to get, I don't guess.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, it was. And that was during Tet. That's why I got that during Tet. It was a pretty fierce battle we was in right there.
So you were alongside the Vietnamese, and did anyone
Actually,
else?
I was when we were out in the field. Usually, it was me and the captain and the sergeant. They were like right there next to me, and then the major was right in there next to the captain when we were going out. And of course, the medic, he was kind of everywhere. The Vietnamese got hit, he would go over and try to help them out.
Did they have their own medic?
They had their own medics, but he wasn't trained nothing like ours. Our medic was trained well. Yeah.
So do you think our American soldiers on a whole were trained amazingly well compared to theirs?
Oh, yes, very well. And you can't. Another thing, when you're in Vietnam and you're under the Vietnamese army, another thing is they have a tendency to quit. When you say charge, they go the other way. It wasn't easy to keep the Vietnamese army at full staff at all times because they'd get into a real fierce battle. They would just go the other way. They'd say, Not all of them, but I mean, there was always a few, And I've seen the Vietnamese army when like 10 or 12 of them would start to take off the other direction. The Vietnamese army would shoot them. Hey, you ain't gonna leave here because and then they would draft more of them or get them somehow. I don't know how they got their army together, but it wasn't unusual to see them take off.
You saw a side of Vietnam that many American soldiers did not see.
That's true too, but also we had contact. A lot of this was done during Tet was the big deal over there, And our troops would run into a battle. Sometimes the battle would already be going on with another company of American soldiers. They would be fighting the Viet Cong, and we would, of course, by me speaking, with them, their sergeant and their captain and their major would be talking to our sergeant and our captain and our major, and they would tell us what direction they'd want us to come in from to help support them. And we did that quite often, whether it was during TED or before TED or after TED. So we did kind of, get involved with the American soldiers, but they just weren't our company. They were their company.
How many battles were you in? You talk about TED, and were there any other battles that you were in?
Well, yes, we were in just minor scrimmages. The location of Batri was down near the ocean, okay, and a lot of times the Viet Cong would bring their supplies and stuff from the ocean. They would come in from the ocean and come into land and start going up the trail there to get to Saigon and Da Nang and those bigger places. And that was one of our major objectives, was to keep that, when they start bringing supplies in, was to cut that off and get them out, so they couldn't get resupplied with ammunition and food and stuff like that. And that's why we were out there. A lot of times during the day we would go out, and a lot of times at night we'd go out. And you'd be surprised how many times daytime they would have, like the Vietnamese farmers, the good people would be out there, planting their rice or harvesting their rice. And then there'd be these Viet Cong. Well, they'd dress just like them, and instead of having rice in that backpack, they would have weapons or food or whatever they needed, ammunition. And it was, a lot of times our Vietnamese army would figure out which ones were which, because they could tell by the way they were doing their actions. So we got in battles, little battles like that. Maybe it was just 6 or 8 Viet Cong, but they were bringing stuff in, and they would go in little groups so they wouldn't be recognized so much as like being 30 or 40 of them, But we had contact with the Viet Cong pretty much at least once or twice a month, sometimes 10 or 12 times a month, but it would just be little contact.
Did you have anything that you kept for good luck?
No, not really. No, never.
Sounds like you got along quite well with your fellow soldiers and fellow officers. Do you think that was because you were such a small?
Oh yeah, there was only 5 of us, so you had no choice. There was only 5 there. You have to get along. You're in the same building, so yeah.
Do you still stay in touch with any of them?
No, I haven't heard from none of them, and no.
Do you have?
I don't even know where they were from. You basically never did find out any personal information, even after being there 18 months with some of them. And I know I was there about 8 months, and the sergeant that was there at that time, he got hepatitis. So they had to helicopter him out. So then we didn't have a sergeant for 30 days or 45 days, and they brought another one in, and so we had replaced. We lost the 18 months I was there. We lost a sergeant with hepatitis, and we lost a captain because his time was up, and he, of course, went back to the States. And I think that's the only two that we lost. And then the next one that left was myself in 18 months. We lost three. Well, when I left, that was three of us.
That's quite a few
In just 5 people.
In
You know, you
5
lost
people.
3 of them in just 18 months. You had to rotate, and then the sergeant there got that hepatitis. That wasn't good. It made you scared that you was going to get it because you're in such close contact with everybody. I mean, you know.
Did they know how he got it?
I never did find out if they did.
Did you have to go through shots or anything?
We all had to get a shot so that we would not get it. Of course, our medic knew that. As soon as he diagnosed him with hepatitis, he had the medicine flew in that we needed and had to give us all shots. And then they took him out.
Have you ever gotten hepatitis?
No. Whatever it was, it worked.
That's great. Did you ever get sick over there?
No, I never did. I can't even remember getting as much as a cold. I don't know if it's because it's dry, you know, and wet, not hot and cold.
But after you were discharged, do you remember? You said you came back to California and you were discharged. Do you remember how you got home?
Yeah, when they discharge you there in California, they give you a military ticket, I guess you'd call it, to get on any plane to come back to St. Louis. Yeah, and they flew me back to St. Louis. When I got to St. Louis, then I was on my own. And I took I had a sister that lived in Belleville at that time. So I took a taxi from St. Louis to Belleville. And, of course, they knew I was coming home, but they didn't know what day or when. You know, they just knew. I just said, I'll be home next week, but I don't. Well, you didn't. You didn't know till the day they picked you up. Said, here we go. But I knew I was going to be out within a week, you know, because my time was up. So, yeah, that's what I did. I took a taxi to Belleville. They was really surprised. Yeah.
You just showed up at her door.
Yeah.
It was different back in Vietnam on how they accepted soldiers. How did that make you feel?
You mean when I got back to the States? Yeah, it was quite different. You didn't get no recognition from anybody that you were even gone. Even I couldn't figure that out. Even your own family, you know, your own. I'm glad you're back, and that was about it. You know, they didn't have no parties or nothing like that. So I don't know.
Okay, and you got a Bronze Star. Did anybody say anything to you about your Bronze Star?
Not really. They didn't ask questions about what kind of medals I got or no, nothing.
Did they ask you why you got the Bronze Star?
They didn't even, you know, I don't know. They didn't ask or nothing. I mean, I had it right there, you know, when I came in, I had all the medals, and you know, they had them in plaques and stuff, you know, a lot of that stuff. Well, when you get 6 medals, you get a lot of different stuff, letters from people, and plaques, medals.
Do you still have all your medals?
No, I don't. We had a house fire, and everything burnt. All the medals, all the letters, everything. So, no, I don't have nothing. It's not good. I'd like to have it now.
So you probably don't have any of your pictures or anything?
Nothing. I had pictures that I took over there, all burnt.
Did you what did you do the days and the weeks after you got out of the military?
Basically, when I got back to Mount Vernon here, I lived with my sister that lives here in Mount Vernon. And basically, I just started going out and trying to find a job. But, you know, you're broke. Well, I wasn't broke. I had my military discharge money, but it wasn't all that much. And went out and found a job.
Was it easy to find a job?
No, it was not. It took about 3 months to get a job.
And why do you think that was?
I don't know if the economy was bad or I don't know. I just really didn't know. I just know I'd go out and put in applications 2 or 3 places every day. About 3 months, I think, before I finally got a job.
Did you join any veterans organizations right away?
No, I never.
So I know that you're a member of the DAV.
Yes, I am now. Yeah.
Yes. And are you a member of any other organizations?
No. The VFW and all that. I don't drink, so I don't join none of them organizations.
Would you encourage young men and women to join the military now?
I think it's a good experience to have behind you, and it makes you grow up faster and learn the quality of life. Yes, I think it's a good thing. Now, I have a lot of nephews and that's in the service now. Well, no, I have 2. I think it's 2. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you have, maybe a fond memory of your service time?
Not that I can really think of. That pretty well tells my story. I'm not done, I think.
Okay.
But we done better than I thought we would.
Well, Mr. Cooper, I would like to say thank you.
You're welcome.
For the time that you served our country and the time that you gave our country.
Thank you.
I would also like to thank you for the time you gave me today and the honor that you gave me of telling your story to me.
Thank you.
It was an honor.
Yep. It was all right.
Thank you.